So I'm going to be talking about the movie Mysterious Skin, and it's about two boys, Neil McCormick and Brian Lackey, who were sexually abused by their baseball coach when they were 8 years old. Neil was always shown to be interested in other men as a child, and the coach made it seem to be okay for him to behave that way because it's completely normal. This caused Neil to grow up pretty much being a male prostitute at the age of 15. While the other men seemed to like him, asked if he wanted a ride, and took him to their rooms and performed sexual activities. Brian grew up believing that he was abducted by aliens as a child, and then he totally blacked out, so he doesn't remember what happened in the process. He would see dreams that made him believe that another boy was abducted with him. In the library, he finds a picture of his baseball team when he was younger, and he notices one guy in the picture from his dreams, and that happened to be Neil. So he goes to find Neil so he can get his answers, and once he finds Neil takes Brian to the house that the coach previously lived in, and over there explains to him that the coach would be nice to them, and slowly let both of them believe that sexual abuse is normal. So he made Neil kiss Brian before he kissed them both himself, and then they made both of them fist his butt. This stayed with Neil his whole life, which leads him to make the decisions that he makes now. Uh, and once Brian heard the whole story, he pretty much broke down into Neil's arms, and the movie ended with Christmas carolers singing Silent Night. Something I found interesting was how this movie started. You can see Fruit Loops raining on little Neil, and right from there I was able to assume that he was gay because the rainbow colored the cereal kind of represented gay pride, I think. I like Neil's character in the film, although he was pretty reckless. You notice that he wasn't exactly happy with, um, or proud of his behavior. He was barely ever happy when he was going with other guys to have sex. You see all the guys making all the moves, and he's just kind of sitting there. You see him have a more loving and caring side as well, although he seems to be pretty heartless, as his friend Wendy classifies. She's had a crush on him for years now, and she says that he doesn't have a heart but a bottomless black hole. And you know, you also see his caring side towards the end, towards Brian, when Brian is shown crying, but it's obviously because Neil is guilty because of what's happened in both of their childhood. But he wouldn't be guilty if he didn't have a heart. So, I also like the character of Eric. I thought he was, a really good friend to Neil and to Brian when Neil wasn't around. He was someone who was constantly supportive and just being there. Um, what I disliked about the movie was, well, the coach, of course, because he was such a creep, but I think he would literally take his chance on anything he sees, any target that would just be available to him. But obviously, because of the roles of his parents in the movie, they failed at being parents. Neil's mom was, so caught up with her boyfriends that she doesn't give any time to her son. How could she trust the coach who she just met yesterday to bring him back from practice every day? Like, that's her responsibility. You can't ever trust someone so much. And I thought Brian's dad was quite a jerk too. Like, Brian comes home with his bleeding nose, and instead of caring for him, he shows disappointment. He's like, as a kid, I always got hurt, so it's okay for you to get hurt too. While you see Brian's mom being more caring, she's like bathing him. But I think both of them sort of at least owe him an explanation as to why they couldn't come pick him up from practice, and how they would just, you know, expect him to come home by himself. It's ridiculous. Every other kid's parents came for them, and obviously this is why they both ended up the way they ended up. I mean, he grew up believing that he was abducted by aliens. Whose fault is that? His parents, obviously. Like, they weren't there for him when he was a kid. He has every right to be mad at his dad. They're just pushing him. They don't care. I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5. It kept me engaged throughout the film, and it was a little intense from Neil's end. I didn't like the part where he got raped. I thought it was a little scary. Like, I thought he was a good guy at the end of the day. He didn't really deserve that, but I guess that teaches him that he can't just trust random strangers like he did throughout that whole movie. It was strange to me that all the older men just kind of knew that he would be interested. Like they would just randomly go to him and be like, "Oh, you know, do you want to ride?" And he would go with them. Like, how do you know he's gay? How do you know he's interested? It beats me, but um he totally didn't look gay to me. I would rate it a 4 because I kind of wanted the movie to have more of an ending. it I was curious to know what would happen with both of the guys at the end. I wanted to know what would happen with the coach. He randomly just disappeared from their childhood. I was kind of hoping that the coach would still be at the house when the guys went there, And I was sort of expecting a little bit of action between him and the boys, just sort of an answer for why he did what he did to them when they were little kids. But maybe I would have gotten more closure seeing Brian and Neil come together as lovers or something. But it was definitely a good movie. I would recommend it to anyone.